everyone, and welcome to Graphing Equations in Slope Intercept form. My name's Larissa, and today I'll be walking you through finding the slope and the y-intercept of an equation, and then using that information to help us graph that line. So before we actually get to the graphing, just want to review the components of slope-intercept form. That is the slope and the intercept. So the equation that we use is y is equal to mx plus b, and that our m is the slope. We call that the rise over the run, or the change in y over the change in x. Our b is the intercept, and that's going to be where our graph crosses the y-axis, and it will always be the coordinate 0, y, and the y is given to us in the equation. We have 4 problems that we're going to work through today. They all look a little bit different, but number 1 here, we have y is equal to 2x minus 3. In number 2, we have y is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 5. Number 3, y is equal to x. And in number 4, 4x minus 2y is equal to 2. So you'll notice this is not in slope-intercept form, and a very good chance that your equations will not always be given to you in slope-intercept, so we'll have to do a little bit of algebra in order to isolate that y and put it in the form y equals mx plus b. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get started. Example 1 here, we have y is equal to 2x minus 3. I'm going to write it out. All right, so slope-intercept form, y is equal to mx plus b. Let's first identify in green our slope. So our slope is equal to 2. And as we said, it's a rise over run, or change in y values over change in x values. So we need a denominator here. And that denominator is going to be 1, because anything over 1 is itself. Any number over 1 is itself. So our slope is 2 over 1. And then our b is equal to negative 3. As a coordinate, that's 0, negative 3. So with our slope and our y-intercept, we can go ahead and graph this first equation. Starting at 0, negative 3 on the graph, this tells us we're going to rise 2 and run 1. We're going to rise 2 and run 1. And we're going to rise 2 and run 1. Connect these with a straight edge. Straight enough. And we've just graphed our first equation. So in order to graph a line, you only need 2 points, but for the purposes of this video, we'll probably do 4 or 5 for every single example. All right, let's move on to example number 2. I'm always going to rewrite slope-intercept form. That's y equals mx plus b. And because the computer doesn't let me write fractions, I'm just going to rewrite this problem. Awesome. So y is equal to negative 2 over 3x plus 5. Same thing as over here. So in green, we're going to identify our slope. Our slope is negative 2 over 3. So we have our rise over our run, already in fraction form. We're going to identify our y-intercept. So our b, which is positive 5. And I'm going to write that as a coordinate because that's the first point that we graph. So with our y-intercept and our slope, we're ready to graph this equation. So starting at 0, positive 5, a negative 2, instead of rising, tells us that we're going to fall. So we're going to fall -2 and run +3 with every point here. We're going to fall 2 and run 3. We're going to fall 2 and run 3. And connect all of those with the straight edge or a ruler or whatever you're using. And there we have it, our second example. Y is equal to -2/3 x plus 5. All right, moving on to example number 3. Y is equal to x. So let's write the slope intercept form. Y is equal to mx plus b, so we can identify our slope and our y-intercept. All right, so m is a number. And in this case, we have a 1 in front of x. So we have a slope of 1, but because we need a rise over run, we're just going to put that over 1. And our b here, technically, we don't see a b, but if we write this as +0, we don't change the equation in any way at all. It just helps us to visualize what our y-intercept is. So b is equal to 0, and our coordinate for the y-intercept is 0, 0. So we're going to start at the origin, and we're going to rise 1 and run 1 for our slope. So starting at 0, 0, we're going to rise 1 and run 1. We're going to rise 1 and run 1. We're going to rise 1 and run 1. Okay, but what about this territory over here? Our line does extend into the third quadrant. So in order to get our line to extend into the third quadrant, we just have to look at our slope a little bit differently. 1/1 is also equal to -1 over -1. All right, and let's see how that helps us to be able to graph in that third quadrant. So -1 over -1 tells us we're going to fall 1 and go to the left 1. We're going to fall 1 and go to the left 1. We're going to fall 1 and go to the left 1. Okay. All that we've done there is interpreted the slope differently than 1/1 so that we can graph into other quadrants, and we still have the same line when it's all said and done. Okay, so example number 4. So last one we have. And as I mentioned in the introduction, this is not in slope intercept form. So we'll have to do a little bit of algebra to get y alone and to put it into the form y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to rewrite over here so that we have enough space to solve for y. And before we can isolate y, we got to deal with the addition and subtraction here. So we're going to subtract 4 from each side. We're going to subtract 4x from each side of the equation. And we're left with -2y is equal to -4x plus 2. All right, we've got -2 times y, and we want just y. So we've got to divide by -2. And to make it easier on us, I'm just going to divide each term on the right by -2 so that we can simplify. All right, -4 over -2 gives us a +2. Let's not forget that x there. And then a +2 divided by -1 gets us a -1. All right, so here is slope intercept form. Y is equal to 2x minus 1. Our slope here is 2. And we need to put that over a 1 because we need rise over run. Our y-intercept is -1. So that's the coordinate 0, -1 for the y-intercept. We have our y-intercept, and we have our slope. So we're ready to graph. We're going to start at the point 0, -1, and then our slope tells us we're going to rise 1 and run +1. We're going to rise 1 and run +1. We're going to rise 2 and run +1. So rise 2, run 1 for every point. All right, connect that with our straight edge. Okay. And we've actually graphed the equation 4x minus 2y equals 2. That's the line that you're seeing here. It's just that we have to rewrite it in slope-intercept form so that we know how to graph it. All right. Well, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Look forward to hopefully meeting you soon. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.